I'm so pleased that we have the opportunity to talk with Elizabeth Warren, who graduated in 1976, one of our most distinguished graduates.
I was married at 19 to a boy I had dated since my freshman year in high school. I had a baby. He was transferred to New Jersey. I was going to be a public school teacher. And a whole series of quick events. And I'd been a high school debater, and the boys in high school debate back in Oklahoma had said, you should think about law school. And so I read up, found out there was a law school in Newark, drove in, looked around, and thought I could give it a try. I didn't know any lawyers. And so I paid my money and got a babysitter for Amy, the little one, and showed up not having a clue, and it went from there. I would prepare for my classes. I thought, this time I've got it. I know what this is about. I really read it. I go into class, and just classes would go by in the blink of an eye. It was like being on a roller coaster. You know, you feel the climb, and then you'd feel the drop, and the move, and the twist. And I could remember after classes, it was important to me. I had a little blue Volkswagen, and I'd race out, I'd jump in my blue Volkswagen, and hightail it to the babysitters, because I only paid until, right, that was the deal. I was only paid up until 2 o'clock. And I didn't want her putting Amy down for a nap. And I pick up this baby and I put her in her car seat and I drive, shifting and driving and shaking her foot with one hand to keep her awake till I could get to the house. And I put her down in her crib, and then I turn around and walk into the bedroom. And I can remember doing this many times with my big heavy book bag on my shoulder, and just falling across the bed and going instantly to sleep for maybe half an hour. It was as if my brain had been so stretched out of shape by 4 hours of law school that it needed time to just kind of pull back into some semblance of normal. And then I got to my first class with Alan Axelrod. And Carter had told me, he said, you've got to take Alan Axelrod as soon as the opening comes up. And there was no opening my first year. He wasn't teaching anything for first years. And I said, what does he teach? And he looked at me with just this disgusted look, and he said, it doesn't matter. He said, take him if he's teaching the phone book. I took every class he taught. That's the reason I ended up teaching commercial law and bankruptcy. He changed my life. And just opened it up in ways that he taught me about how multidimensional the world is, about how neutrality is an illusion. It really is always about winners and losers, and how those who know, those who start with power, those who start with resources can do so well in that world. I teach the two courses that, for me, are the alpha and omega of law, contract law. Private parties can put something together that has the potential to build wealth for both of them. Both come out of the transaction wealthier. Every day, and every first day in my contracts class now at Harvard, I sell my watch and drive home to the students that transaction makes me richer, because obviously I value the money more than the watch, and makes the student richer because the student obviously values the watch more than the money. And we build a whole legal structure on that fundamental insight about exchange. And then I teach the end of the process, bankruptcy. The law will enforce, but there's a place to it where it says, but not anymore. We only impose private obligations on people to a certain point. And then we say it's not in anyone's interest to push it beyond that point. And that's true whether we're talking about trillion-dollar corporations or whether we're talking about a single-parent family. That there's a basic part of the social structure where value is better preserved by saying, in effect, you know, you lent money, you took the risk that the person on the other side, things go wrong and they may not be able to pay back. Now, you want a high standard for that, but it's what are the social decisions for when we'll break those pieces apart? What are the social decisions when we say that's too far? And what do we preserve at that moment? We say, in effect, in America, you preserve your future wages to feed your own family. We say which creditors are going to get first call on what it is that you have. It's the ultimate course in our public values. And so for me, that's what the game is all about. It's to understand law, government, comes in and says we will enforce promise because it's how our people can be richer, but we will also enforce the notion of bankruptcy because that's how we express both our humanity and the notion that we have a shared desire to see everyone have a minimum level, a place we all have to protect. So Professor Carter, my torts teacher, in the first term of law school, sometime in early November, invited me out to lunch. I'd never been out to lunch with a professor. I mean, wow. And so we walked down to this little place. We're sitting and having sandwiches, and he looked up and he said, you know, you could be a teacher. And I said, no, I'm coming to law school. And he said, I mean a law teacher, a law professor, you've got it in you. And I thought, a professor? What an amazing thing. I can remember driving back down Route 280 in my little blue Volkswagen, and I said it out loud for the first time. Professor Warren. Boy, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? I'd never even seen Wall Street. And I asked around, asked people what they were doing. Rutgers had it. There were sign-up sheets. And I actually got a job on Wall Street in an incredibly tall building in the oldest law firm on Wall Street. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, just, it was a time when women had not been invited. I graduated from law school 9 months pregnant, and Amy's getting a little bigger at that point. And I thought I'd stepped off the train. You know, hard enough to get a job for a woman then. I was about to have a baby, and nobody was interested in me. And with that law degree from Rutgers, I hung out a shingle. Rutgers was a place that taught me, pull up your socks and try it. I mean, that's just really what I learned here. You're smart, we'll work with you, you can learn this is all manageable. Just do it, just break it off and do it. And as a result, while I was here, I loved it. I loved everything I studied in law school. I loved every subject I took. I ultimately loved every one of my teachers. I mean, it was just a kind of a, here are these opportunities. And it's how I started to see the world. It was an opportunity. You had to work hard. You had to think about it. But if you would, you could do things. You could actually manage things. You could actually accomplish things. And you know something? You accomplish one thing, by golly, you get a chance. Somebody asks you to accomplish another one. And you get that one done and you're having fun doing it, and somebody comes along and asks you something else. You know, it's always interesting to me. People will say to me, gosh, you started teaching at Rutgers and then at the University of Houston and you ended up at Harvard. You must have been terribly ambitious. And the answer is no, not even slightly ambitious. I loved what I did, and I worked hard at what I did, and I tried to accomplish something where I was. And every time I did that, a door seemed to swing open somewhere else, and I walked through. I've loved this place, always, and I will always be enormously grateful for the opportunities that Rutgers Law School has given to me. So thank you.